Okay, good morning, everybody. I hope you can all hear me. And welcome to the latest eRoam webinar, delighting your clients through digital transformation tips, non-tech travel companies. So what we're going to be talking about today is using digital transformation to help you improve your levels of personal service for your customers, and then hopefully your customer loyalty, and of course your revenues. We're going to keep it fairly simple, so even if you're not remotely tech savvy, you should have some useful takeaways for this morning's session. Just a quick bit of housekeeping. The webinar will probably last about 30-35 minutes, depending on how much the two of us talk. Then after that, we'll have time for a 5 or 10 minute Q&A session. If you look in the webinar screen, you'll see an option called Q&A. So if you've got a question at any point, just type it in there, and then we'll answer it at a suitable break. We should be done in about 45 minutes, certainly no longer than, we won't keep you longer than an hour. We'll also be recording the session. So if you want to watch it again, or if you have to duck out at some point and you miss anything, then you'll be able to see it on our website in the next 2 or 3 days. Good. So let's get started. Hang on, my slides aren't moving. There we go. So just to introduce you to the presenters today, I'm Tim Russell. I'm Global Marketing Coordinator for eRoam, and I'm based in Bangkok. And with me is our co-founder and CEO, Anthony. Good morning, Anthony. Good morning, Anthony.
Let's try and unmute.
Oh, there he is.
Hi, Jim. How you going?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Anthony's 3 hours ahead of me. He's in Melbourne, so it's 2 p.m. there. How's things in Melbourne? Are you still on lockdown over there?
Yeah, 3 o'clock now. We're in summertime.
Of course, you're an hour ahead now, aren't you?
Yeah, but yeah, no, things are hopefully starting to get better. There's more news every day of lockdowns getting loosened. We've got travel bubbles starting up, so you know it's a good time, I think, now, especially for marketing, especially for tech, as we prepare to relaunch the travel industry, hopefully in the next quarter.
Good. Let's hope so. Let's hope so, because certainly here in Southeast Asia, we need some good news, especially Thailand. Okay, I'm going to begin just with a quick video. And obviously, the point of this session isn't to give you a hard sell on eRoam. It's to introduce you to more to do with some concepts around digital transformation. But just to kick off, just so you know who we are and where we're coming from, I'm just going to show you a little quick 2-minute video just to introduce what eRoam is and what we do. Give it a couple of seconds to load. Always works really well in practice, and then as soon as you're doing a live webinar, of course, everything slow down.
Yep. If the video is not working,
meet Jack and Jill. They have an appointment to visit their travel advisor today. They plan to book their round-the-world dream holiday. Jack explains his priorities are snorkeling and diving in Africa, Australia, and Thailand. Jill's priorities are visiting the hill tribes, shopping on Rodeo Drive, and taking the train across the Rocky Mountains. The advisor prepares and shows the proposed itinerary to Jack and Jill, which they agree to buy and get handed their tickets. Now, Jack and Jill are ready to go on their holiday. They can go to the airport and all the work is done. Right? Wrong. Let's take a look behind the scenes at what really happens and all the travel professionals involved in making a booking like this. First, the travel advisor conducts a consultation with the clients on where they want to travel and their requirements. From this information, the advisor checks availability and creates an itinerary with flights, hotels, and activities. This can take hours as they review from the millions of hotels, motels, guest houses, and hostels that are showing in the marketplace, and then working out what is best suited to Jack and Jill. With eRoam, the travel advisor can find, in minutes, curated content displaying the best hotels for your clients. Next, the advisor advisor looks at the availability of over 1,000 airline, train, and bus operators to see which offer the best deal based on Jack and Jill's requirements. Finally, the advisor needs to add from the curated content the best tour operators, DMCs, and wholesalers, like snorkeling on the Great Barrier Reef, cruising down the Mekong River to Luang Prabang, or a first-class suite on the famous Rocky Mountaineer train. This can take suppliers several hours, and in most cases, days, to respond to the advisor. With eRoam, this can be done in minutes. Once the advisor has all this information, they can then create a quote and proposed itinerary. This step normally takes a further 2 or more hours, but eRoam does this instantly. The eRoam Travel Operations Project is a partnership of eRoam Technologies and Travel Operations, powered by Microsoft Dynamics. If you would like to learn more, please contact our team. Thank you.
Okay, I hope you were able to see and hear the video there. I think someone told me the video had frozen, so I'm not sure. It all looked fine from my end. Anyway, that gives you an intro as to what eRoam can do, and we'll talk more about eRoam towards the end of the session. Right, so today we're going to be talking about digital transformation. And one of the reasons that's become a big topic, obviously, is because COVID-19 had a huge negative effect on the travel industry all over the world, particularly here in Thailand, where I am. It's totally decimated Thailand's travel industry and economy, and I think it's the same pretty much the world over. A lot of articles we're reading at the moment are suggesting that the travel companies that come out of it, that survive COVID and thrive once things get back to something approaching normal, are going to be the ones that embrace technology and digital transformation. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Today, with a focus more on communication and customer service. Would you agree with that, Anthony? Do you think that digital transformation is going to be a key issue as we move out of COVID-19?
Yeah, absolutely. And we need to learn fast on what to market also. Like the landscape of what we were selling before COVID is very different to what we're selling now. And it's going to be a matter of learning quickly what our market wants. Like, do they want staycations? Do they, how far will they travel domestically? And it's learning from data what they can do, what they want to do, and then putting that product in front of them.
Okay. One of the reasons we're focusing on service today is because one of the things that's come out of the COVID-19 crisis is customer service and refunds. Here's an article from the New York Times, and I think this is typical of an issue that a lot of people have had with OTAs during the crisis. We all know what it's like to book with an OTA. It's very easy to look for a flight. It's very easy to look for a hotel. It's easy to book. You get good prices, but when things go wrong and you need to change or cancel or get a refund, it's very, very hard to actually talk to a real person and get any individual service. So that's been one of the big issues of the COVID crisis. And I think travel agents and travel companies are much better equipped to deal with this than OTAs. And that's something we'll talk about in this session as well. Let's begin, first of all, then, by talking about personalization. Now, time was that if you wanted to offer a personalized service, you could only do it at a very small scale. You could only do it if you had a handful of customers. These days, technology is making it a lot easier for us to personalize at scale. Even if you've got a database of 30 or 40,000 people, it's now quite simple to offer them personalized communication, personalized service and product offerings, as we're seeing from Amazon, for example. Amazon were one of the pioneers of this. You buy things from Amazon, and eventually it learns what your interests are, and it keeps on making recommendations to you. And they were really one of the pioneers in this, and they got customers used to the idea of companies knowing what their preferences are and offering them relevant products, services.
Yeah, and it's not only limited to retail sites like Amazon. It's being used across many industries, from legal to medical industries that are using this great pool of data to get predictive solutions. So it's exactly the same theory. Amazon learns about the customer and then offers them products that are relevant to them. And in the same way that services like the medical and the medical data is used to help better learn about the patient and give them a better service also. So, and this is where travel has really lacked in the past. And this is where I think travel really needs to lift their game coming out of COVID, to use data like that to personalise what information they're sharing with their clientele.
Sure. Let's have a look at a few stats related to personalisation. Customers really like personalisation. There's a myth that we find personalisation intrusive and a bit sort of Big Brother-like, but most consumers actually like it. 80% of customers are more likely to purchase a product or a service from a brand that personalises the experience. And in fact, 72% of customers only engage with marketing messages that are customised to their specific interests. So if you're just sending out blanket messages to your customers without taking their preferences into account, you're probably losing almost 3/4 of them right from the start. And 90% of consumers are willing to share behavioral data if it gets them additional benefits that make their buying experience easier. And in fact, when it comes to millennials, 70% of them are actually willing to let retailers track their browsing and shopping behavior. So some people don't think of it as intrusive or Big Brotherish at all. People are actually willing to surrender to give up their privacy in return for a better shopping experience. And 71% of consumers feel frustrated when their shopping experience is impersonal.
Well, you know, sorry, I was just going to say on that point, a lot of people don't travel a lot. When they're going overseas, for a lot of people, it's a once in a lifetime experience that they have. But even maybe going on a beach holiday up to Thailand might be a honeymoon, can still be a once in a lifetime experience. Now you look at Phuket, a tiny little island of Phuket. That gets 15 million travellers a year there. They've got 7,000 properties in Phuket available for purchase. Now, a consumer doesn't have time to research 7,000 different properties.
Of course.
You know, they want that personalised. You know, even if you give them 100 properties, it's overwhelming to them. So if you can use digital marketing and all of the data to narrow that down to maybe 3 or 4 properties, they're much more likely to convert that into a booking than if you say, here's 7,000 properties, go and sort it out yourself. Exactly.
I think, as you said before, travel's been pretty slow on this. Travel's lacking behind, and research suggests that fewer than 50% of consumers think travel brands know them or are sending them relevant communications. And again, fewer than 50% think that travel communications are relevant to them. Why do you think that is, Anthony? Because travel was kind of ahead of the curve when it came to internet booking, but we've sort of lagged behind quite a bit in terms of things like personalization. Why do you believe that is?
I think the big brands, the big players, have always relied on their bricks and mortar business model. They've always been more interested in getting information and then trying to do the sell human to human, face to face. And yeah, they just have not invested in the remarketing, which we're going to talk about, I believe, a little bit later, that the OTAs have spent all of their money in. So that I think the traditional travel agents have relied on the traditional ways of doing travel. The OTAs, which aren't necessarily your traditional agents, they're more marketing experts and tech experts. They're the ones that have really benefited in the last decade. But I think now there's a crossover, and we're going to start seeing that bricks and mortar traditional travel industry start really competing with the OTAs through the use of marketing tools and data.
Yeah, and I think that the barrier to entry for that technology is a lot lower than it was 10 years ago as well. I mean, 10 years ago, only a big company like Booking.com or Agoda could probably afford it, have the bandwidth to get into it. Whereas I think now, as we'll see, it's available to pretty much everybody for at very low cost and very easy to set up.
Yes, and you know, you can use your you don't need to use systems like very complicated CRMs to know your clients and be offering the appropriate product to your clients. You can do that through product management, but you can improve that through the likes of the use of CRMs and data, which again I think we'll be talking a bit about later on.
Yeah, we'll cover that as well. Yeah, yep. Okay. Now, there's obviously a lot of data out there that suggests when travel agents get it right, when travel agents are able to personalize and offer personal services, it leads to happy customers. Most people who book tailor-made trips through agencies say their experiences are better than those that they planned alone without an agent. And that's particularly prevalent with millennials. 55% of millennials are more inclined to hire travel experts to help with planning their trip, while only 28% of baby boomers say the same. And I read an interesting article recently about why that is. Now, those of us who are a little bit older, like Anthony and myself, I think we're both Generation X, aren't we, Anthony? We didn't grow up with the internet. So when in the sort of late 90s, when internet booking came along, it was actually really exciting. Go and book your first flight online or book your first hotel online and put together your own trip, DIY it. Really felt like it was an adventure. Whereas I think millennials have grown up with the internet, and millennials are so overloaded with information that they're more likely to hire someone to sift through all the clutter for them and actually put it together. Would you say that's correct, Anthony?
Yeah, I think that you said earlier on how people are, especially the baby boomers, are more likely to share their data, and they allow the agents to collect data to do better personalisation. They also share their experiences a lot more online, so through all of the different review services like, you know, Trust You, TripAdvisor, even, you know, the internal review sites on bookings.com, Ctrip, etc. And they use those recommendations a lot to make up their decision, where the millennials are may still rely more on the agent's expertise. I think also millennials were growing up when travel agents was more of a profession. Back in the 70s, 80s, when you joined the travel industry, you joined the travel industry for life. That was your profession. Then you get to the 2000s, and a lot of the travel consultants, yeah, they may have traveled a little bit, but they're generally been in the industry for a shorter period of time. So millennials grew up with agents that had a lot more experience in the industry. Now, what's changing now with the baby boomers, whilst the consultants have spent less time in the industry, they're more open to using technology to get that right information. And that's been the big hole in the market. There's been a lack of information. Now you're starting to get a lot of services out there, like I said, like with Trust You, for example, that offer great data to give these baby boomer consultants the information. So yeah, I think we've seen that change because of that.
Okay. So let's first of all talk about how digital transformation can help you personalize your communication. So the marketing messages that you're sending out to your databases. And the first one we're going to look at is segmentation. And I don't know how many of you listening are doing email segmentation at the moment. Probably not many of you, but statistically segmented email when I say segmented, I mean an email list that's divided it could be divided by interest, it could be divided by location, it could be divided by age group. We'll look at that in a second. Segmented email campaigns get almost 15% higher open rates compared to non-segmented email campaigns. And that's a hell of a lot. And if you've got a database with several thousand email addresses on it, if you could increase your open rate by 15%, that's a lot more people seeing your messages. Now, only 30% of marketers surveyed are currently using audience segmentation, and that's across all industries. I would imagine that figure is probably a lot lower in the travel industry. I'd imagine a lot fewer than 30% of marketers are segmenting in the travel industry. Would you agree with that, Anthony?
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think a lot of travel companies are doing this. I don't think that many travel companies are.
No.
And segmented email campaigns see over 100% higher click-through rates. That's massive. That's double the click-through rate that you're getting if you're doing non-segmented email campaigns. So it takes a little bit of time to set up, but it's really, really effective.
Well, there's no use if you've got a database of students at a university, sending them campaigns that are aimed at the 5-star market.
Exactly. Yep.
You might have 100,000 people in your database, but it's only going to be if they're trying to buy something for their parents or they're super wealthy that they're going to be interested. So you're going to have a very high bounce rate. Likewise, if you've got an elderly mailing list, there's no use in sending them bungee jumping and skydiving. Yeah, again, you might get a 1%, that adrenaline junkies that want to get out and do that. But you're not addressing the market that your database is covering. So it's really important to understand who your market is, segment that, and then you're better off sending 1,000 emails out to a targeted market than sending 100,000 out, which will upset 99% of the people, and they'll put you in spam because it's not relevant. So then you'll lose that contact, which could be great if you had have used targeted marketing.
Cool. How to segment? There are various ways that you can segment your databases. We've got 4 pillars here. We've got geographically, so you can segment by country, city, or language. You can do it demographically by age or gender or social status, education. You can do it psychographically by people's lifestyle interests, their personality, what their values and attitudes are. Or I think probably most commonly in most industries is behavioral. So it's based on intent or previous purchases. So for example, for travel companies, it could be luxury travelers or budget travelers, like Anthony said, adventure travelers, and so on. So I think for most travel agents, probably behavioral is going to be the most common, wouldn't you say, Anthony?
Yes, because you can't generalize on.
Exactly, you can't really generalize on any of the.
That's the most important.
Behavioral is very effective. And there are various CRM tools that you can use to do that. I don't know how many of you have got CRMs at the moment. Some of you probably have. Some of you have probably got your lists from various Excel spreadsheets, which is how a lot of travel companies still seem to work in our experience. But there are a number of cheap or free CRM solutions out there that you can use. We use HubSpot here at eRoam. I've also used Bittrex and Zoho in the past. And again, here at eRoam, we can integrate with any of these CRM solutions that you're using as well. And we'll see how that works a little bit later. Obviously, once you've segmented your list, then we can look at email personalization, making sure you send out personalized emails to each segment. Consumers open emails with personalized subject lines at a 50% higher rate compared to emails without personalized subject lines. And that can just be something as simple as putting their first name in the subject line, such as, hey, Tim, look at these great deals for Bali, or hey, Anthony, let's go bungee jumping next week, for example. And yet only 2% of emails actually use personalization. It's very effective, but people don't use it, mainly because they don't quite understand how to use it, or they haven't got effectively segmented lists. Email marketing still has the highest return on investment for small businesses. It's cheap to do, it's easy to do, but if you do it effectively, it's a very good way of reaching people. We're just going to look at three pretty simple examples from the travel industry here. Here's one from Thomas Cook. And they've just taken a simple thing of putting the recipient's name on a beach towel over a lounger. Not complicated, but when the recipient gets that, it makes them feel fuzzy inside. It makes them feel that Thomas Cook is actually thinking of them. This one from the Flight Centre here, you'll see they're offering flight deals from Ottawa. They've obviously sent this out to their database of people who are based in Ottawa, and they're just showing them flight deals that are relevant to them. So if I'm based in Ottawa, I don't want to see flight details from the other side of the country. I want to know flight deals that are going from where I live. And then this last one from Air Canada, they're leading with London sales. This was aimed at people who've previously booked or recently searched for trips to London. So they're following that up with an email with deals to London. Again, very easy to do, but very effective. And again, there are various email solutions that you can use to help you with this. Some of these are free up to a certain amount. I've used MailChimp quite a lot. It's very easy to use, and you can send up to about 1,000 emails a month, totally free of charge. And even when you do pay, these are fairly affordable in terms of return on investment. Anthony mentioned before retargeting. Retargeting basically means where if someone visits your website, you drop a cookie on their computer, and then you kind of follow them around the internet, serving them ads and trying to get them to come back to your website. Only 2% of website visitors convert during their first visit. By convert, we mean take an action in terms of filling in an inquiry form or subscribing to a newsletter or making a purchase if it's e-commerce. That means that 98% of visitors that you manage to attract, and we all spend a lot of time trying to attract people to our websites in terms of SEO, in terms of AdWords, social media marketing, and so on. Most of them leave without converting. If we don't do retargeting, we're letting those 98% go and not trying to attract them back. Retargeted visitors are 70% more likely to convert on a website compared to those who aren't targeted for the second time. And retargeting has the ability to increase your conversion rates by almost 150%. Now, as Anthony mentioned earlier, most of the big OTAs do this, but I'm surfing the internet. I often see ads from Agoda and Booking.com. But smaller travel companies generally aren't doing it. Would you say, Anthony?
Yeah, well, like
travel companies do it very often.
I read a great article last year from Expedia Media, and they touch their users on average 128 times before they get a booking. So that doesn't mean that they're sending 128 emails, or the client or the viewer has had a look at the website 128 times, but it means that they've been going through Facebook and an advert has come up with the hotel that they searched in Phuket. And then they're doing searches on Google and it comes up. And then they're reading the BBC feed and an advert comes across the top for holidays in Phuket from Expedia. And that's not only subconsciously telling the client, go to Phuket. It's saying Expedia is an expert on Phuket. So that person is being told 128 times subconsciously that Expedia and Phuket fit together. It's a bit like, the Trivago advertising, where they say Trivago means hotels. And so, like they're trying to get that across in all of their paid advertising. But Expedia do it really well by pushing the brand of their brand along with the product that they know that the client has been searching for.
Yeah. An example of what retargeting is, if you're still not sure, it's basically where your ad appears on various third-party websites. So if someone's visited your site, here's an ad for Vimeo, for example. I might have visited Vimeo's site last week to look at video hosting and then left. A couple of days later, I've gone to CNN and there's an ad for Vimeo encouraging me to get started. Some people don't like it. Again, they feel like they're being stalked around the internet. But as Anthony said, and as we saw in the stats in the previous slide, it is very, very effective. We mentioned before about barriers to entry. It's really, really easy to get started with retargeting now. You can do it easily via a Google AdWords account if you're using that. You can do it via Facebook ads, or one that I've used recently is one called eRoam, which basically handles it all for you. It designs your ads, it schedules your ads, and it displays your ads on the Google Ad Network and on social media as well. You can set your budget and decide how much you want to spend. And it's very, 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 very effective way to get people back to your website. So we talked a little bit about personalized communication. Let's talk now about personalizing the products that we offer people, because we said before that travel companies can actually harvest a lot of data about their clients. They don't always know how to use that data. One of the good ways to use that data is to actually personalize the products that you offer to your database. 81% of travelers consider it very important for brands to provide personalized experiences. And as we said before, 90% of consumers are willing to share behavioral data if they think they'll get additional benefits that make their shopping cheaper or easier. And that obviously applies to travelers as well. Let's have a look at eRoam as an example, shall we, Anthony?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell people about how eRoam helps collect traveler data? We've got a couple of examples in the slides here.
Okay, so there's a couple of barriers when it goes through to booking, and you always want to make bookings as simple and easy as possible for the user. So what we do, and what a lot of the OTAs do, is they build a profile of the client that is searching for travel. So you can see on this screen, we've got the customer details at the top. Then we've got pending bookings. That might be searches that they've done for different bookings. We've got their active bookings, their bookings that have been made, and their archived bookings. All of this gives us information that we can use to help predict the correct product. But
the next screen is probably a better one to talk about.
Okay. But on that previous screen, you know,
sorry, I'll go back.
We're getting all of that, all of the booking information. So when it comes time to booking, everything is automatically filled in. So you save when the person comes time to booking, they don't need to go and fill in a whole lot of stuff. All of the information's there. They just need to press book and they move forward. Okay, so we'll go on to the next screen.
Yep. There we go.
You know, what we do also is we learn about the clients who they like to travel with. So this client, for example, likes to travel on Qantas. So whenever we're predicting anything, we're using this information to predict to the client, yes, you know, these are our deals with Qantas, traveling premium economy. Using the core hotels within the promotions, and using the car rental companies that they've selected. We've also got down the bottom here that they like food and wine, cultural themed tours, they like private tours and walking tours, and also destinations. So the more that you're engaging with the user, we can gather all of this information. Now, we do this in a basic way within the eRoam platform. There's far more sophisticated ways that you can do it in CRMs. But if you want to then do it in a CRM, I'd recommend that you engage a digital agency to help you through that. But whenever you have surveys on your website, or whenever you're asking questions or interacting with the client, you should be gathering that data, as long as they've allowed you to gather that data. So then you can have a more targeted product offering for the client, and then you're more likely to convert that into a booking.
Yeah. And the way eRoam works is that when you make a new booking for a client, it takes into account all these preferences when it's putting together the itinerary. So there's more chance of you coming up with an itinerary that's going to be accepted by the client as well.
Correct.
Which takes us to bespoke itineraries. Actually, I mean, bespoke itineraries is something that's long been associated with the luxury travel industry, but as we said before, the barrier to entry for personalized services come down, and now actually, bespoke itineraries are common throughout the travel industry. 90% of travelers worldwide are not satisfied with the standard travel booking process and would like a more personalized, unique approach. And as we said before, millennials, which is rapidly becoming the biggest market out there, are more likely to hire travel experts and let others take care of planning their trip. And I think that's going to become even more common post COVID-19, with people wanting to avoid crowds and avoid the normal tourist trail, wouldn't you say?
Well, it's sort of a funny one there. I think you've got a lot of Gen Xers and also the baby boomers that are more likely to book a multi-city or do a multi-city itinerary. Now, whether they book that through a travel agent or do it direct themselves, that's a completely different story. The millennials are, yes, more likely to hire the travel expert, but it's the Generation Xers that are more likely to do a multi-city itinerary. So that's where we need to bring these Gen Xers into seeing the value of using travel experts. And that comes around, from marketing, obviously.
How are we doing for time? So as we mentioned before, yeah, with a solution like eRoam, you can actually put all these preferences in when you go in to make a new booking. You can say this client likes 4-star hotels. They want to travel overland when they're in country. They're 45 to 54. They like food, wine, nightlife, and other things. And then once we apply that, it'll then put together an itinerary which takes into account their interests, their accommodation type, their transportation type, and so on. So it's a little bit of data-based itinerary development. Finally, let's talk about, we're starting to get toward, it's 9:40 now, so we need to kind of wrap it up in the next 5 or 10 minutes. So let's talk finally about personalized service. Obviously, we talked about communication, about getting people to book. We talked about the booking process, putting the products together. And we need to talk now about personalized service, because as we saw before, one of the big dissatisfactions people have with OTAs when they're DIYing a trip is that it's very difficult to get any kind of service, personal or otherwise, out. Here's a few stats on the importance of good service. 49% of consumers in the US switched companies last year because of poor customer service. 93% of customers are likely to make repeat purchases with companies who offer excellent customer services. I'm sure all of you have got a story of a company that's delighted you with their service and that you're very, very loyal to, and you keep going back to because you're so happy with their services. And 90% of customers rate an immediate response as important or very important when they have a customer service question. And 60% of those customers think immediate means 10 minutes or less. That's particularly important with travel. If you're on your trip and you're in a foreign country, something goes wrong, you can't wait hours or days for the company to deal with it. They need to deal with it immediately, right, Anthony?
Yeah, that's correct. And that's been a big focus of us, of our technology growth over this COVID period. The concierge service that the corporate world have had for years is something that the leisure market are now starting to expect. And these figures go to prove that. If you try and book on an OTA and then try and make changes, it's just an absolute nightmare to do that. So I know a lot of the retail agents now are looking at different concierge services. And one of the things that we're doing at eRoam is we're doing concierge in your pocket. So if someone has a problem in market, say if they're on holidays in Spain, there's no use in them waiting till they come home to resolve that problem. They're best off resolving that problem whilst they're in Spain. So the concierge in the pocket solution gives the traveller direct access to contact the appropriate persons to fix that problem whilst they're in market. But also, if they're having a fantastic time, it also gives the customer the opportunity to give feedback to the agent. If they do a fantastic day tour and they want to do another one, and it gives them the ability to do that in market. So I think concierge is a service that's going to become a lot more important, especially to the traditional travel agents' offerings.
It's a way to generate more revenue as well, isn't it? It's a, you know, to generate more revenue from people while they're on the trip as well.
Yeah, and you know, and get that repeat purchasing happening, because you know that's the big factor. You know, you want people to have a great trip, so when they book their holidays next year, they'll book with you again.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about some digital service channels. How companies like to interact with businesses. 62% of customers prefer to use email to communicate with customers. And 90% of businesses report faster complaint resolution with chatbots. One of the big, people think that chatbots are impersonal. We've all had bad experiences with chatbots, but when chatbots are used to quickly triage and allocate issues and complaints, they can actually be very effective. And we'll see an example of that in a minute. And as Anthony said, one of the biggest complaints about OTAs is complaint resolution or changes and cancellations. I had a problem with Agoda a few years ago where I booked a hotel. They didn't actually send me a confirmation email, and it actually took me 3 days just to get confirmation of my booking, which probably wouldn't have happened if I booked with a travel agent.
And then on the other side, a great experience that I've had has been actually with the chatbots is Uber. You know, getting when a car hasn't turned up and you get charged $10, you talk on a chatbot for 30 seconds and you're refunded. Now that saves Uber all of that time of processing refunds and doing all of that work. And me as the customer, I'm happy and satisfied because I've got my refund straight away. So
Exactly.
it's come up with a resolution through a chatbot instantly, and I'm happy. The company's happy.
Here's an example of a travel company using chatbots well as this Skyscanner. So instead of actually filling out a booking form here, you're actually doing it via a chatbot. So where are you going? Anywhere. Where are you flying from? London, and so on. So to interact with a chatbot like that often feels more personal than just filling in a search form. And again, that can be used for customer support as well.
And generally with those chatbots, you can, if you're having problems with the chatbot, there's an option to talk to
a real person option.
A real person. And,
and obviously this technology is going to get more and more sophisticated, and I suspect in a few years' time we won't even know we're talking to a chatbot.
Yeah.
A lot of travel companies are now using apps as well. There are a lot of apps out there for travel agents. So your traveller, when they're traveling, they've got all their trip on an app, and again they can use that to chat with you and make changes. And I think our app is launching soon, Anthony, I believe in a couple of weeks.
Yes, correct. So that'll be live next month.
Okay, so we'll be letting you all know. We'll be shouting about that when the app is launched. So you'll be hearing about that. And we talked about how difficult it can be to make changes. Now within eRoam, it's actually really simple to make changes, and agents can make changes on the fly, can't they, Anthony? If a client requests one.
Yeah, especially when you're building itineraries, you know, it can be so time consuming, you know, going in, changing the GDS and going in and changing the hotels. With our technology, we've got drag and drop technology, so you can change the order that you visit places. Everything is connected. All suppliers are connected. So you can literally, if you change a flight in the first segment, it will update the entire itinerary.
And if we replace a hotel in one city with another hotel, it will automatically cancel the previous hotel. It'll book a new hotel, and it'll update all the pricing as well. And that takes not even minutes, just
seconds. Yeah,
that can be done in seconds. Yeah. So that means that it's very, very easy for you to make changes or cancellations on the fly and get back to people very, very quickly, which removes one of the big areas of complaint that people have about booking travel online. Okay, so I think we've just about come to the end of our initial presentation before we move into Q&A. Just to conclude, customers want and expect personalized communications, personalized product, and personalized service. And the personal service that you as a travel company offer is the big advantage that you have over a more impersonal OTA. It's one of the biggest differentiators that you have. So a simple combination of a CRM, an email solution, targeted ads, in-tour service, a live, quick, prompt service while people are traveling, and a booking solution like eRoam can really help you enhance your service levels and help grow your loyalty and revenues. Any last conclusion from you, Anthony?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to know your market and market to your market. Less is more. You're better off sending an email out to 1,000 targeted people with targeted product than sending it out to 100,000 people. Also, use data wisely. If you don't know how to use the data, there are platforms like eRoam that can help automate the use of that data. Otherwise, go and use a digital agency to assist you to manage your data, to make sure that you're targeting your clients, because that will end up in a much higher conversion rate for you.
Thank you. So let's move on to the Q&A. You've got a Q&A box there where you can type questions, and I think we've got a question already from Kushnor from Exotica Traveller in Mumbai. Thanks for your question, Kushnor. Kushnor talking about email segmentation. He says for him, some of his clients, people don't want to see emails ever since WhatsApp has come into the picture. How do you get your customers interested in email viewing when they're not even interested? Well, you can do your marketing over WhatsApp. For starters, you can use WhatsApp as a tool. I know in China they use WeChat a lot as a marketing tool rather than email. So it's possible to send out marketing messages via solutions like WhatsApp and WeChat. Wouldn't you agree, Anthony?
Yeah, and you can even use apps. Like if your clients have subscribed to your in-store app, you can push messages via that also. So
one of the things about segmentation is that you communicate with people in the way they want to be communicated with. So you send emails to people who want emails. If people have made it clear they prefer to be communicated with via WhatsApp, then you send them that message via WhatsApp.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk to them the way that they want to be talked to. It's like you give them the product that they want. That's what personalisation is all about.
Good question, Kushnor. Thank you for that. Does anyone have any more questions for us? Still got 5 minutes or so left.
No more questions.
Hang on. Yeah, we do. We have a couple more actually. Kushnor says he finds that sending promotional matter through WhatsApp is blocked by many. Again, that's one of the advantages of doing segmentation and getting people to opt in. If you know people on your list like being communicated with via WhatsApp and they've opted in, then they're probably not going to block your message. If people are blocking you, it probably means you're sending them the wrong message, or they never wanted to hear from you in the first place. Very the solution to that.
I like Andrew's question here. He found Twitter a very great way to resolve problems with airlines. Yeah, yes. Very true. Shout it out, let everyone see the problem, and you'll get a faster response.
I found that as well. I had a problem with Lufthansa a few years ago, and they weren't responding to any kind of message until I went onto their Facebook page, and then after a long rant on their Facebook page, they got in touch with me within about 10 minutes. So, yeah, good.
Look, I think the important thing is now is the time where everyone's a little bit quiet at the moment. Now's the time to look at technology for different solutions. If these technologies are new to you, go and ask someone for assistance. Go to a digital marketing agency or go to a solution engineer and ask them what will work best for you. At eRoam, we've got in-house digital marketing experts and engineers that would be happy to talk you through the ways that we can help you. But there's lots of great technology which you brought up through this webinar, Tim, you know, with all of the different mailing services that you can use, all of the different ad for, services for retargeting. There's a lot more tools out there now.
A lot of it's in many cases, a lot of it's free to use or very cheap to use, and they provide really good help and training and webinars that are free to access as well.
Okay, so I'll just give eRoam a quick plug.
Yes, let's finish off with a very quick plug for eRoam.
So if anyone wants to give eRoam a go on to eRoam.com, and there's a free trial that you can jump on and have a play around with the system. What eRoam is all about is single entry processing. So you can have 30 segments, 40 segments, 50 segments of saver bookings, of hotel bookings, of activities, of transfers. And you go through and you create the full itinerary. And when you get to the end, you don't need to fill out 30 or 40 different booking forms. It's a single booking form that sends that information out to all of the clients. Also, whilst your clients or your agents are using the system, we're collecting data on your behalf. So that will help you in your buying and your marketing also. So jump onto eRoam.com and have a look if you get a chance.
Excellent. Thanks, Anthony. We've had one more question actually in while you were talking. So we'll finish with that. Kushnor again. Kushnor says, do you think that people will actually start to change their views about OTAs and increasingly opt for travel agencies? What do you think, Anthony?
I think yes. I think travel agents are always going to have a role, because for a lot of people, the biggest asset they buy in their lifetime is their house. Their second biggest thing they buy in their life is their car. The third biggest thing that they buy is that once in a lifetime trip to the other side of the world, possibly. When they're spending those big dollars, they want advice. Now, if they're just going on a beach holiday, you know, an hour's flight away, yeah, the OTAs are going to be stronger in those places because they'll work on lower margins, possibly. But when they want to do that African safari, or they want to do that rail journey through Europe, or they want to do a multi-country Southeast Asia, Indochina package, they're going to rely on the agents to give them the right advice, because if they make the wrong decision, that's a lifetime wrong decision that they've made, and they want advice to get that right.
Good, all right, good question, Krishna. A good spot to finish on. Thank you everybody for joining. As Anthony said, if you want to find out more about us, go to eRoam.com. You'll be hearing from us in the next couple of days, because we'll follow up with an email, and we'll also post the recording of this webinar on our website, so you can watch again if need be, or if you missed something, or you can share with your colleagues. And keep an eye out for future webinars. We try and do a webinar every sort of 4 to 5 weeks if we can as well, so keep an eye on that as well, and we hope you'll join the next one, and we hope to work with you in the next few months as we all hopefully start to recover from COVID-19. So thanks for joining us, Anthony.
Thank you, Tim.
And we will speak to you all soon. Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers, bye.